Hi, Angie B here, and once again I find myself down in London's Haymarket in the heart of London's West End, and I'm about to have a chat with a gentleman called Gary Brown. Gary Brown is currently a West End dresser on the top musical Only Fools and Horses, and he's agreed to come along and have a chat to me today and give me a little bit more of an insight on what it's like to work backstage on a top West End show. Only Fools and Horses stars the comedian Paul Whitehouse and runs at London's Haymarket Theatre, and who knows where this chat will lead to. So hi Gary, lovely to catch you today and have a chat about Only Fools and Horses. But before we get started, let's have a little bit of an insight into you and your career and your background and what you predominantly do, and that is a dresser for West End and TV.
Yep, thanks very much for having me here. But yeah, I started off my dressing career about 12 years ago now, and how I got into it was, initially I was working in recruitment and I wanted a change of career and was undecided to what I really wanted to do, but I'd always had a big passion for theatre, seen, majority of the shows, etc. And my partner was working in theatre as a dresser, and there was a job one day that he actually couldn't do, and said, shall I put your name forward and see if the wardrobe mistress would give you a chance. And this show was called Footloose. I went in, I was thrown in at the deep end, and yes, from this day onwards I've stayed in the business, if you like, as a dresser in both theatre and TV now as well. So yeah, Footloose my first job, and today one of my most favourite jobs as well.
Oh, that answers that question, because I was going to come to that later on. But TV, so you've dressed on TV. What TV work have you done?
Well, basically, because the industry is such a small industry that we work in, a lot of the dressers get to know each other. And a good friend of mine actually left to go and work on a BBC soap, EastEnders. And she put a call out saying that they were looking for some male dressers. I inquired, and within 3 weeks I was working there. And I was initially only meant to be there for about 3 months, and 3 years later I was still there. A completely different way of dressing compared to theatre, but still, an extremely good experience to work, within such a, great flagship production of the BBC.
Absolutely, and I mean that's obviously shows you were enjoying what you were doing to sort of maintain that role for quite that length of time.
Well, I don't know if enjoy is quite the right word. No, I had lots of fun there. It was very hard work. The thing with TV work, it's very, very long hours, and you're working day, night, weekends. It just varies from week to week. You're filming sort of 4 episodes over 2 weeks. And so, it's very fast. And, it's all about the continuity on TV, whereas in theatre, you're doing the same thing 8 times a week. In TV, and especially on a soap, no 2 days are the same. But, good experience.
So you have to be quite adaptable to whatever's thrown at you sort of on a daily basis with TV, whereas like you say with theatre you have a set programme and you know where you're at with the routine.
Yeah, with TV, as I say, especially on a soap, the main thing is about continuity, just making sure that everything follows in the correct order, because nothing is filmed in order. You could do the outside shoots before you do the inside shoots. So for example, if someone's walking through the door, you've got to make sure they look exactly the same as what they did when they were outside going inside. So yes, continuity is a major player in TV. But within anything to do with dressing, really, you've got to be able to think fast on your feet, and respond to anything quickly.
You just saying that reminded me of a documentary once that Michael Caine was doing on the world of acting, and he was actually describing about how if you're shooting a scene and obviously you're cutting it or you're editing it, how the smallest details have to be replicated in that next scene. So it would be not just the costume, it might be the way that you held the cigarette, the way your eyes were looking. So in a way it's very similar, isn't it? You've got to make sure that you're replicating every scene as what they're wearing. It can't change.
No, that's absolutely right. And that's why, when you do watch these soap operas, it is the dresser's job. You've also got the people in the gallery that are looking out for it as well. But yes, it is, you do have to make sure that cigarette is in the same hand as the previous take. And that, if that button's come undone on their shirt, that you need to do it back up again, or if that scarf's not over the right shoulder. So yes, it's all about the continuity, which is why you take lots of pictures and you match them up to, what you've just taken. And but because it is such a quick turnover, yes, you do have to have a very good eye for detail and make sure that is 100% correct before you go for another shoot.
So it's actually quite unbeknown to a lot of people in the background, there's quite a bit of pressure on you, because you've got to make sure you're supporting that artist and they've got everything they need and everything's sort of timed for every scene and it's all prepared and laid out. Have you had any sort of dramas or panic moments, whether it be now or early days, where you've just suddenly thought, oh no, I haven't got that in the right place, or
I think in the early days when I started dressing, when I was a bit newer to it, then yes, there would be the odd occasion where you might forget something, but you quickly learn that there is a reason that you check your preset before the show goes up, is to make sure that you haven't forgotten anything and that everything is laid out. I mean, you're doing live shows 8 times a week, so you have to make sure that everything is in place and that it is there. But yeah, there's been a few times where there's been some funny things happen.
What's been the most challenging costume or that you've had to try and help someone get into?
Well, I think one of the most memorable ones, when I worked on a production of Grease, and I used to do a change with the character Frenchie. And basically we had the second cover go on, so not the understudy, but the second cover. And I think this was her first time of going on as well. And initially what she does, she comes running off the wing, she steps into a skirt which is pulled up, and then she goes back on again. So it's about a 15-second change. But unbeknown to me, I had already set the skirt on the floor, but unbeknown to me, that skirt had been taken away and altered and been put back again. So when this character came out to do a change, she stepped into it, and I've tried to lift the skirt up and it's stuck to the side of her legs onto her tights. Somehow what had happened, there was Velcro on the inside of the skirt and it had stuck to her tights. Now I'm trying to yank the skirt up to try and get it on, and there's no way this skirt was going up. And to cut a long story short, the guys on the stage could see what was happening in the wing, so they're just making a bit of dialogue up to keep it going. I literally had to rip the tights on both the legs. I pulled the skirt up, and then when she went onto the stage, as she's going through the scene, the bottom part of the tights started coming down. So she looked a bit like Nora Batty. And unfortunately, the cast could see this, and they were literally just, it was very hard for them to complete the scene without laughing. But that's an incident that happened to me.
A memorable moment, yeah.
Well, an unmemorable moment, but yeah, a moment that I won't forget, and I don't think she will forget that either. But it was absolutely fine. She was. Yeah. She knew it wasn't my fault, but I did have a few words with people upstairs after.
I'm sure you did. Lessons learned, eh?
Yeah, lessons learned.
So currently at the moment you're working on the hugely successful musical Only Fools and Horses, which I have to say, I mean, it's going absolutely through the roof, isn't it? It's tremendous reviews, and everybody that I know of that's been to see it is just raving about it. So you're working as a dresser on Only Fools, and are you sort of having a blast with this show?
I've got to say I'm having an absolutely fantastic time. We've got a magnificent company there, a great team of actors, backstage, wardrobe, everywhere. The whole company really, really happy. I think everybody's really delighted with how the production's going at the moment. The performances every night, it's almost like being at a concert venue where each character comes onto stage, they get a round of applause. It's very, very funny. As I say, in the first month of opening we took an 8 million advance, which for that theatre is a record breaker. And as I say, we've just extended to February 2020. It's going fantastic. I absolutely love it.
How could it not, though? Because, I mean, Only Fools and Horses, iconic 80s series, which, we all love and we still watch, don't we, now today? The characters are just brilliant. And, how could it not succeed? Got to ask you, what's your favourite Del Boy quote? Have you got a favourite Del Trotter quote?
I think there's so many. I don't really have a favourite. I think they're all just so good. I don't currently look after Del Boy on this production. I look after Paul Whitehouse, who plays Grandad. And I think all the characters in the show, they've all got their own sayings. They've all got their own quotes. I mean, clearly, one of Del Boy's most famous quotes is "Play it safe, Trigger, play it safe" before he falls through the bar.
Yes.
Which is probably one of the most iconic moments in the show, which gets the biggest round of applause from the audience every night. But no, I think there's just so many, and they're all in the show.
Yeah.
And the audience will be delighted to know that each character, they'll home into them straight away.
And that's good to know, because sometimes when you've seen something iconic as that running for so long, there's always that element of disappointment when it transfers to a theatre. Is it going to be quite the same? But from what I've heard, it's replicated exactly the same, and the jokes are there and the characters are done brilliantly. Okay, so all right, if you could play a character from Only Fools and Horses, who would you be? You must have a favourite character.
I think one of my favourite characters, because everybody loves him so much, is Grandad. Now, I'm not just saying that because I look after Paul, who plays Grandad. He's such a lovable character. Him and Uncle Albert, I suppose, who were the older characters in the show. But I think Grandad's got this, the sentimental value in a character that everybody was just drawn to. He's definitely one of my favourites. I have been known to do quite a good impression of Grandad.
Oh, go on. Go on.
Well, I don't know if I can do a Grandad, Del Boy.
That's brilliant. I think you do a very good Grandad. That is really good.
Thank you very much.
His debut appearance.
Well, actually, talking about debut appearances, there's a thing that happens every year called West End Live, where a lot of shows take part in, it's like a Eurovision Song Contest. And I was fortunate enough to be a part of our team this year that took part in the show. And I actually played a Del Boy character where, we sang a song, and I was flying across the stage on a scooter that our stage management had put together that was made to look like the Reliant Robin car. And I flew across the stage, and then I came across on a bouncy ball, like a hopper ball, a space hopper, yes, and did all sorts of things, and it got a massive cheer when we were being asked questions at the end. Lovely Oscar, who was the lead singer in the piece, mentioned to the audience that I actually work backstage as a dresser, and I'm not a professional performer, and it got a massive cheer, and I was really proud of that.
Oh, well done.
So,
you
my West End debut. My debut. So it's not something that I'd like to do on a regular basis, but
to have the experience, I mean, come on, it must have been absolutely off the wall.
It was really, really good fun. It was really good fun.
Oh, that's great. And obviously getting to work closely with Paul Whitehouse, who again is such an iconic comedian. I mean, he's so talented, but to see him playing this role and be working closely with him, that must be a real privilege.
It's an absolute privilege. I mean, Paul has got the character down to a T. He sounds like him, he looks like him, and he is absolutely fantastic. And as I say, every time he comes round on the Revolve for his first entrance, the audience give him a massive round of applause. They absolutely love him. It's just a real iconic character that's, everybody just loves and takes to your heart. And with the show being based on a particular episode, there are moments in it that, do get to you, that have real meaning to it. So whilst it is of an extremely funny show, you know, there is parts of it that do, you know, that get to your heart, basically.
And what I love about it, and I've always loved about Only Fools and Horses, it really depicts the true sort of traditional East End that we all knew and related to, you know, in terms of, you know, the lifestyle and the characters that were in the East End at that time. But yeah, I mean, I think it's brilliant, and I think that, I don't know about you, but people should get down and see it, because it is really an iconic series of its time, isn't it?
It is, absolutely. I mean, I grew up watching Only Fools and Horses. I used to wait for the Christmas special.
Yeah.
You know, it's a really good fun night out. If you've not been to the theatre before, what we like about our show, it is attracting people that don't normally go to the theatre, because it's such an iconic show. It's attracting a hell of a lot of people outside the normal realms. You know, people from around the world go to see Phantom, Les Mis, etc. Yes, you know, it's a homegrown show. It's got new music. It, as I say, it's very, very funny. It adds heart to it as well. But to me, one of the most important things is bringing people into the theatre that don't normally go, and that can only be a good thing.
I totally agree with you, because that's what it's about. It's keeping our theatre going, supporting our artists, and you know, seeing something new, but something we all relate to, and ultimately a feel-good factor. So yeah, totally agree. I think we should get more people down to see the show, don't you?
Oh, I totally agree. I think, you know, if you want to have a good laugh, if you do want to see the characters being recreated on the stage, then I think you'll leave, you know, having had a really, really good time. And yeah, I think an immensely enjoyable evening.
Good. Well, we will promote it on Marlow FM to our listeners on Sunday, because we have a Sound of Musicals show from 4 till 6, and we will be sort of playing some songs and obviously highlighting the show. So, but before we go, I mean, obviously, thank you so much for your time. It's been really interesting listening to your experience working sort of behind the scenes. I think, just for fun, we should finish off with one of my favourite quotes from Only Fools and Horses to the camera. I loved it when Del Boy used to go, mange two, mange two. Should we do that?
If you would like to do that, that's no problem.
Ready?
Mange two, mange two.
Thanks ever so much, and all the best with the rest of the show, and I will see you when I come and see the production.
You're very, very welcome. It's lovely to meet you, and it's lovely to talk about something that, you know, I'm proud to work on.
Excellent.
So thank you very much.
You're welcome.